the House voted to remove Representative Ilhan Omar from her spot on the House Foreign Relations Committee, where she'd been serving for 4 years, was doing evil things, guys, like, questioning the U.S.'s bottomless money pit for Saudi Arabia's war on Yemen and Israel's occupation of the West Bank and Gaza, and also, being Muslim. That was obviously one of the evil things. This was led by Republican Representative Max Miller of Ohio, and it's pretty clear that she's being punished for a tweet that 3 years ago, I believe, or 4 years ago, 2019.
Yeah.
Where she tweeted something like, "It's all about the Benjamins," in reference to the Israeli lobbying group, AIPAC, which is very much all about the Benjamins, just like any pack is. And apparently she was playing into anti-Semitic tropes about Jews and money, and she apologized for it. Let's just review. There were, and you've gone over this, there were 2 House resolutions condemning her statements and anti-Semitism, 2 of them on the same goddamn day. She had to apologize for it. And then they also, they added, this was fun, they added a little like, and Islamophobia we're against, in addition to anti-Semitism, as like a kind of a, oh, right, I guess this is all about all hate and bigotry. But here's what Jeffries had to say. Even when Republicans removed her from her position, this is how he defended her.
Omar certainly has made mistakes. She has used anti-Semitic tropes that were clearly and unequivocally condemned by House Democrats.
Yeah, see, we dragged her first. And in a way they did. A whole great article on this for The Intercept about Democrats paving the way for this moment of ousting Ilhan Omar.
Yeah. So, I mean, Kevin McCarthy was, before he was even in a leadership position, before Ilhan Omar had even been in Congress for a week, was calling, along with, Lee Zeldin and Steve Scalise, all like our favorite Republican characters, for her to be kicked off of this committee, simply because she is a Muslim brown woman who has the balls to criticize Israel for human rights abuses against Palestinians. So that let's just remember that that's the context that this is all happening in. Democrats, I believe at the time it was, the man who single-handedly stopped Biden from passing the bulk of his agenda for his first year in office, Josh Gottheimer, and Elaine Luria, who lost her reelection because of defund the police. I'm kidding. I don't know why she lost her election, but
right.
People who wrote this scathing letter calling on House leadership to denounce Ilhan Omar for these comments. And then, as you mentioned, I mean, so the House votes to rebuke anti-Semitism in all its forms, which is clearly an attack on Ilhan. This is within her first couple of months in office. Like a month later, she's talking about the same issue. Reporters are asking her about the same issue, and she makes similar comments. Not even it wasn't public. It wasn't on Twitter. It was like in a coffee shop somewhere in DC, making basically the same criticism with more artful language. She gets hit with another resolution rebuking anti-Semitism. Jesus. Led by Democratic leadership who were in power at the time. So, I mean, my article was basically making the argument that by buying into this false narrative that any criticism of a human rights abuse, if it happens to be in Israel or if it happens to be about the lobbying apparatus that helps Israel be our number one recipient of military funding and assistance from the U.S. year after year, is somehow a criticism against the religion of Judaism, which spreads far beyond the country of Israel and around the entire world, and to several of Omar's colleagues in the House. So this is the playing field that Democrats themselves built and set up. at a time when McCarthy was criticizing her when he wasn't in power, so that, now today, 2, 3, 4 years later, this same argument is actually salient enough to get her removed from that committee when Democrats are not in power, which, I don't think that anyone who's been paying attention should know that this is what eventually was going to happen. Once Republicans took power, they were going to do everything in their, within their grasp to attack not only the most vocal progressive women of color in the Democratic Party, but one of the only people on this committee who would speak about human rights abuses, either sponsored or directly sponsored by or directly carried out by the United States on this committee, and that they got what they wanted.
Yeah. Yep. Nothing scares them more than a Black Muslim refugee who is also a progressive.
Right. Her who actually survived some of the conflict that, that she's here now trying to bring attention to.
Which in my mind makes her a goddamn hero. And I have to say, like, and this is maybe a weird thing to say, but to know that like all of your colleagues like voted you off of your position that you were taking seriously, that you were doing hard work on, and that, a couple hundred of your colleagues were like, no, because you're a Muslim woman, you're off of this. And these are the same people who have, obviously, we know Lauren Boebert making an Islamophobic joke about her having a pipe bomb or whatever the hell. We know, like in West Virginia, early on when Ilhan Omar became a representative and was elected, they were hanging posters around West Virginia, like Republican meetings or whatnot, that were like Ilhan Omar's face and 9/11 saying, we said we wouldn't forget and we have forgotten, like really, really hateful stuff. And she's stood up to all of it. And yet still, after all this, no one has her back. Now, someone had her back. This is Representative Jan Schakowsky speaking about Ilhan Omar and defending her. And I just had to play it because I love it.
My colleagues, I stand before you as a proud Jew and a proud friend and colleague of Ilhan Omar. I don't need any of you to defend me against anti-Semitism. My friend Ilhan Omar, we have worked together to the values that I treasure as an American Jew and that she treasures.
Sorry, that cuts off, but that she treasures. And I need that kind of hope, like here is, yes, a Jewish lawmaker saying I work well with my Muslim lawmaker and these are values that we both share. And, and it's just like more of this needs to be said. And I love her being like, I don't need any of you, least of all, you fucking anti-Semitic right wingers talking about Jewish space lasers, talking about like, coded language. Like y'all haven't been covering for Kanye West, who's straight up saying he admires Hitler for the past however many months. It's just insane. Like I do not need your help defending myself against anti-Semitism. In fact, you are anti-Semitic and you're part of the problem.
Yeah.
And,
not to mention, the party that aided and abetted January 6th and all of the, very friendly to Judaism people who were part of that attack. I mean, the hypocrisy is literally never ending, but Democrats apparently can't see that.
and I just want to say that to your point about of Israel with Judaism as a whole, first of all, it is, I believe, the project of the far right in Israel. Issue that we can never discuss, we can never touch. I hope my connection is still there. That is very much on purpose. And here's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on CNN eloquently speaking to that point and saying, this is the party also that says they're being censored constantly. They can't, it's all, they believe in free speech. But what are they doing on this one particular issue?
Miller, who brought forth the resolution in discussing it today, really gave the whole game away when he started to equate a position that Amnesty International, certain bodies within the UN, even Israeli human rights organizations have been sounding the alarm that the human rights crisis in the West Bank and that Palestinians face is constituting apartheid. And he equated that position that global human rights organizations have already raised as anti-Semitic. And that right there is the slippery slope that we really need to be paying attention to.
I just love that. I love that because no one calls that the slippery slope. Everyone calls it, no one calls that out and saying that it is actually anti-Semitic to conflate Judaism and the state of Israel the way that people do. And that we need to separate those things. Anyway, just as a reminder, Israel's killed 35 Palestinians just this year alone, y'all. We're only in a week into February, so fun.
Yeah. I want to emphasize that point, that I think that is like, and this is in the piece, I interviewed someone from an organization called Jewish Voice for Peace who was like, this is not happening in a vacuum. This is actually happening at a time when the mask on Israel's government is totally and completely off. Their attacks on Palestinians have been more blatant and aggressive than we've seen in a long time. And this is the same time that, the U.S. Congress is taking this stance, this bipartisan stance against a member of their own party or their own body.
What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. Do